Leggari countertop kits are like no other on the market. Pre-measured for each step, in-depth tutorials for every design, and every kit comes with a lifetime warranty. Leggari products, the most cost-effective way to enhance any existing countertop surface, hands down.
So I'm gonna go over how to mix your guys' kit. Now, obviously you wanna make sure all your prep is done, plastic's down, primer's on, it's dry. That way, once you mix this, you can immediately go dump it out on your project. I'll go over what you're gonna need to mix, the colors. We will be using our epoxy accelerator. You can get this on our single items. I only recommend this for experienced installers. This does cut down your working time when you add it to your epoxy, but it does make it set up faster, so it's a lot harder the next day, to where if you need to get in there and put the sink back in, stuff like that, you can typically do it the next day. So we're gonna use that, but again, don't use that accelerator if it's your first time. If you're new to epoxy, this is for experienced installers, that accelerator. The reason we use it is because we like to pull the tape on our edges faster, and it's super cold in our warehouse, so it speeds up that resin so we don't have to wait as long to pull our edges on the tape to let that resin flow over the edge. So for the supplies you guys are gonna need, we got 2 5-gallon buckets, 5-gallon paint stick. We have 6 2.5 quart mixing containers. That's gonna be our dirty pour batches. We have 3 just drinking 24-ounce cups, plastic cups we're gonna spray the spray paint into to get our liquid spray paint. Drill, mixing paddle, and then you're gonna wanna wear gloves, and then we have a couple 1-gallon mixing sticks, and then for the products, we got the 3-gallon kit, we got our epoxy pigment and dolphin gray, and then our 3 spray paint colors. We got driftwood, charcoal gray there, this one is coastal gray. Cool thing about this kit is if you love all the colors, but maybe 1 or 2, you can mix and match. You guys don't have to use these 3 colors. You can maybe get a lighter gray, maybe you want to throw black in there. So a lot of diversity when you guys are making your kits. If you want to add another color, simple, just pick up the spray paint and you can add another color or take a color out. So like I said, last thing we want to do is add the accelerator. That way we're not wasting time mixing anything in, or it's just sitting in there while we're doing other stuff. So we're basically ready to start batching out. So I'm gonna have Kyle jump in here. He's gonna start spraying the spray paints into the containers. Again, try to get everything ready before we add that accelerator. So once we're ready, we're just rocking. So all we do for the spray paint, shake it up good. We take a rag, we put over the top, and then we'll spray the spray paint into there. Now you don't want to have your spray paint tilted up, because what's going to happen is it's not going to spray the paint out. We want to have this kind of like that, so we're getting all the paint that's in there into the cup. So Kyle will do that for me. I'm going to add the accelerator. It's going to dump it in, mix it in a little bit. So nice Leggari tip for you contractors out there that are mixing lots of resin. We take a bucket of denatured alcohol, have a lid for it so it doesn't just evaporate, and we clean our paddle wheels by mixing it in that denatured, and then we'll have a fresh brand new paddle wheel every time. So I'll go back and forth a couple times. Now we have a nice clean paddle wheel, and then I'll just wipe off the shaft with a rag, and then we don't have to worry about chunky resin from old mixes falling off into our projects. So after the primer sets up and gets tacky, you want to either tape your edges off and create that dam with painter's tape, yellow painter's tape, 2 rows, or you can use weather stripping. We're using weather stripping here. It's very simple. You guys can get this at most hardware stores. 3/16 tall, 3/8 wide. Works perfect for our stone kits. Biggest thing, guys, is making sure your seams are butted up good and that you have enough surface on the top hitting to where you have a good seal. Last thing we want is any blowouts when we're doing these. So we got our batches here. If you guys want to map out a design on your surface, you can do that with Sharpies. If you're doing a black primer, you can do the edge of a paint stick to create your design. That gives you something to follow. We're going to go random here, and then like I said, during mixing, guys, we're going to be adding some more of our spray paint colors to the tops of these, which we have right here on the cart. Again, we got coastal gray, charcoal gray, and our driftwood. So I think I'm going to start with this charcoal gray, and I'm just going to add some to one of these that we didn't add any into. Dump it right on the top, and then we're going to go dump it out. So we got 3 buckets left. When you guys get down to that 3, 2, 1 bucket, you really want to start pouring in the larger areas, trying to fill the larger gaps between the resin pores. And then on our last bucket, we really try to fine tune and fill everything in. So what I'm doing now that we're getting down to our final buckets, is I'm really looking at what colors are where. I know I want to add some more dark colors out here, so I'm going to add some back here. And I'm just kind of going around, and this is personal preference, obviously, what colors you want more of, what colors you don't want to use as much of. I really like how this dark charcoal's turning out when we pour it out, so I'm going to be going around kind of finishing these up with that dark charcoal. Once we get everything filled out, and if you guys have your whole counters filled and you have another container left, just dump it out. We want to get all that product on the counter. Don't assume you have enough just because everything's coated. Now, if you have any spots or gaps where you can see primer, we'll just pretend this is a primer spot where I can see. I would just run my hand in there and kind of fill it in, get some resin over the primer, and then that'll let the rest of the epoxy flow over and fill it in. So main spots you want to look for are your back edge, where it meets your tile or your backsplash. Make sure the resin's filled up all the way to the tape line. Last thing you want to have is mist spots back there, so I'm going to go around and hit all those real quick. This back corner in here needs push up there to fill out. Just random spots. All that's good. You know, like we got a spot right here. Just kind of filling those in, letting it level out. We can disperse it with isopropyl alcohol. That's going to add a lot of cells, a lot of, you know, dynamic looks to this counter. If you don't want that, we just mixed it with denatured alcohol. That eliminate all the bubbles. So I'm going to hit a couple random spots with isopropyl to show you what the dispersing effects do. Because once you spray it, you can't really take it away. So if you want to test it, you can do it in like maybe somewhere you're going to put a microwave or your coffee maker, something that's going to be covered. So I'm going to, like I said, do random spots. So I'm just going to run down this vein right here, just kind of spritzing it, pulling that trigger just a little bit. See how all the cells, it's kind of dispersing those pigments away. Really cool look, but I do like the more concentrated areas that we have on these other spots at the counters as well. If I hit that, it's going to do the same thing. So I don't want to do that everywhere. So again, I'm going to just lightly, randomly hit this countertop, random spots, just really quick to get some of those cells, not hitting everything, really quick, real random. And that's it. If you guys want more of that, you would just spritz your whole counter. If you don't want any of that, you would just spray denatured alcohol. So comment below, let me know if you guys like the dispersing effect that we get when we spray it with the isopropyl, the small to medium drops, or if you like that more concentrated area of that pigment. Let me know below which one you guys like the best. After you spray the isopropyl, let it evaporate for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then we're gonna mist the surface with denatured. That's gonna eliminate all the bubbles. You can do this up to 2 times, 3 times if needed, but you always wanna wait in between spraying it, because if we get too much denatured alcohol out here, it'll muddy out our colors, it'll muddy out our vein lines. They won't be as such a nice fracture type vein. It'll kind of blend those together and muddy out those colors. So let it evaporate, hit it again. I wouldn't do more than 3 times, and try to do it right after you're done to kind of get it dialed. So last thing we're gonna do, right, is pull this weather stripping. If you guys have tape, it's kind of the same thing. If you're doing tape on your edges, I'll fold it down to see how fast the resin flows over. Weather stripping, I usually find a corner and I'll just kind of pat it, and you can see how it immediately levels out. See how fast it levels out? That means it's really fluid and runny. So we want to let that set up to where I indent it, and it takes it 3 to 5, 6 seconds to fully level out. That's about the perfect time to pull the tape. Remember before I patted it, it leveled out right away. See how it's kind of droopy? It takes a minute to level out, not a minute, but a few more seconds than it did before, kind of stringy. That's what we're looking for when we pull it. So we got our edges looking really good. They're all flowing over evenly now. A few things I will point out is your outside edges. You really want to take note on those. What I'll do is if we have, maybe you didn't round your corner enough and you can see through, I'll just scrape a little of that edge and then I'll just let it sit on top. And then that's going to just flow down and coat that edge. So I'll go around, make sure those are good. And then once the resin starts to set up, it's still a little too fluid now, but I'm going to show you how to scrape your drips. We used to do them with paint sticks, but we realized the paint sticks were so flat and wide that it would build up on the edge of the paint stick and it would put more product back on the counter. So this is more of like cutting those drips off straight and not letting it build back up on the counter. And that's why these are the easiest countertop kits on the market to install. Simply dump out of a bucket and you get these natural looking veins that mimic natural stone.